right, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of our podcast series. Today we're going to be discussing engineering as an undergraduate program. We have a few guests here today who are from engineering, and I'm going to open up the floor to them to introduce themselves and kind of share a little bit about themselves before we dive into it. So go ahead.
Okay, I guess I'll start off the introductions. Hey folks, my name is Khalid, or Khalid, in a certain culture. I'm a second year computer engineering student, and I go to the University of Waterloo.
Good.
All right,
All right.
Michael Scott.
My name is Abdel Rahman. I'm going into my third year of electrical engineering at McMaster.
My name is Balsam. I'm a third year chemical engineering student at Western University.
Cool. I just want to thank each and every single one of you for taking the time out to be here. I really appreciate it. I just want to start off by kind of asking, when you guys were considering going to McMaster or Waterloo or Western, sort of what are some of the factors that made you choose the specific program or just the field of engineering in general? Because a lot of people, including myself when I was in high school, considered engineering. So, for the people who are watching, maybe you can share some of your thoughts and insights as to what that process was like.
Who wants to start?
You can.
Can we just decide on the order just from now, so you don't do this every question? I'll just start off, and then we'll follow the same order we did with the first question. Okay?
That works.
Sure, bro.
All right. So why I chose engineering? Honestly, I chose engineering. It was just a matter of process of elimination. So for myself, and I think a lot of kids going through engineering who come from like a traditional family sort of go through the same process. It's sort of like, okay, do the best you can in high school so that you have the luxury of choosing where you want to be, and then apply to like the program that you think is best career-wise, right? So as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, you don't really know much about engineering, you don't really know much about business, and you don't really know much the specifics of health, right? But you have an interest in something that pertains to the field. So I particularly liked, like problem solving. I like creating things. I like the challenge of solving a problem, be it coding or, through drawing schematics or circuits. As much as I hate that course, it can be fun at sometimes. So you do have an affinity to certain things that pertain to that program, and you see that program being able to fulfill certain passions of yours. So that's one choice. Like, it spoke to some of my interests. And the other one was, like I said again, you have to look at what programs are realistic for you. I know, for example, my family wouldn't let me do business. This isn't exactly like a healthy choice or like a healthy outlook on things, but that's just how it is, right? And so you think, okay, well, I can't do that program. What other programs are left? You've got like medicine, you've got law maybe, and you've got engineering. I know I didn't like law at all, and I never took any biology courses in grade 12. So engineering made the most sense. So that was it for me. And then the last choice would be stability. Engineering tends to have this overarching picture of being a stable industry that has stable income and a good return with low risk. So again, traditionally speaking, that's what you kind of want to go for. So I went for it. I think through the years of being in engineering and through engineering co-ops, I've had a newfound passion for engineering specifically, and now kind of reaffirming my choice. Yeah, okay, maybe I am glad that I chose this, but I definitely didn't know these reasons back when I did choose it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't really know I was gonna get into engineering. I knew I was kind of anything computer-wise, like computer science or engineering in general, because I did some coding in high school, not much though.
Gee.
But then, yeah, I wasn't really sure. I even took like biology in grade 11 and 12, which was kind of dumb, but.
That's you. I dropped biology for like a week in after.
Yeah, I took bio grade 12 too, and yeah, honestly, I wasn't sure what I wanted to get into, even until like I chose engineering, like at the last day, on the last day, of, like when you submit. I was either gonna go in engineering or like computer science and business at Laurier. So yeah, but
So
then
why
I
you did?
kind of chose engineering because I think I had the most options and I wasn't really limited to what I could do. Like especially at McMaster, like the first year is general. So if you decide, like if I decided I didn't want to go into like computer engineering or software, I can go into electrical. Uh, so yeah, I felt like there was a lot, like multiple options. Like I'm not really limited by it. Yeah, but even then I was hesitant because I remember the summer going into university, like first year, I actually changed. I wanted to change into life sci, which was
Why?
honestly I was kind of nervous of engineering. Like I was
Was the
like, oh
first
my god,
term that bad,
this
man?
no, I didn't do first term. Like the summer, during the summer,
Oh, okay.
going to first year. Even like I emailed like the head of like sciences at McMaster, and they ended up sending me an offer for life science, but I just rejected it.
Bruh.
But yeah,
What?
so I was still very like hesitant about engineering until I got into it. But yeah, alhamdulillah, I got into it because I think it was the right choice.
Um, for me personally, like in high school, I had like a wide range of things that I liked, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to be a history at some point, which is we're not going to talk about that. Um,
We can
I
talk about
know.
it.
I mean, it was a
What's wrong with history majors? I don't understand.
there's literally nothing wrong with it, but it's funny how like I chose something like completely opposite, right? But then
Yeah.
in grade 11, there was like this sort of project that our school went into. I went to a school in Qatar, so it was a pretty small school, and there was a project where we could basically design a way to like make Qatar a more environmentally sustainable country. So I kind of went into that with a really open mind, and I went in with a group of other students, and we got second place nationwide, and like it was really great. It was a really great fun experience, and like developing a proposal, presenting in front of a big group of people. But for me, the standout part of that project was we were doing it on recycling and how to make recycling kind of more mainstream in the country. And for me, I really, really like the part about the processing part of recycling, because we never really think about the stuff is going, just throw in the recycling bin, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
But you don't actually think, okay, what happens after that? And that kind of got me more interested into chemical processing, and that led into chemical engineering. And so I kind of went to Western as a first year that's general. I don't think that's how it is for McMaster or Waterloo, but you kind of take a wide range of courses, and a lot of people end up changing their minds. But I'm really glad that I was kind of set on chemical engineering, and now that I'm in chemical engineering, I've also pursued a specialization in biochemical and environmental engineering. And for one of our projects, we ended up doing a project on recycling and chemical processes of recycling, and it was kind of like a nice, full circle moment for me. And like what Khalid was saying, like it just reaffirmed for me, like I really, really like what I'm doing. So, yeah.
I have a question for you. So at Western, the Eng program, they make you take the business course. So, and I remember when I was having a conversation with you earlier, you said it's kind of one of those things that uh, either will reaffirm your interest in engineering or cause people to change their minds. So what was it, or maybe you can speak to your own experiences as well as some of your peers who did change their mind, and for someone like you who knew after that like, okay, I just want to stick to eng, don't even want to think about business?
Right. So in our first year, we basically take like an Ivy course. And essentially what that course does is either you're like, I want to stick to pure engineering. Typically people who like that course don't switch out of engineering, but they decide they want to maybe pursue a dual degree option. And so, you know, it kind of either sways you away from that option or like, okay, maybe I do want to try and apply for Ivy next year. But yeah, I think it's not like you would take the business course and be like, no, I don't want to do engineering like at all.
Are there things like that at like Waterloo at Mac? Like, or are you strictly just taking eng courses?
A micro course. Micro, and some people took micro and macro.
Like econ, right?
Yeah, micro, econ, and math.
Yeah, they've recently introduced Econ 101 into their curriculum.
Why do you
That
sound
kind
so
of make it
defeated,
easier
bro?
for
Like, business isn't that
the
bad.
class. The thing is, um, I didn't get a chance to be part of that curriculum change. So the class, so I was originally part of that 2022 class, and they're gonna take econ. They introduced econ later into their stream, but now I'm off stream with them, and I'm with the 2023 class. The 2023 class already took the econ course in the first year, so I didn't get a chance to be part of history. So I completely missed out on the econ part. But yeah, they have started adding like business stuff, like like engineering professions and ethics and stuff, just to kind of teach you fundamentals of other, or not even fundamentals of other programs, just fundamentals that you need in your job. Like, you know, everybody has to be good with numbers, and you can't always integrate your way out of every situation. You know, you do need a basic sense of economics. Um, yeah, so I didn't get a chance to take it, but it's part of the curriculum now.
Okay, fair enough. So you guys already hit upon some of the things that you considered while choosing engineering as a field. So I'm curious now more, and Balsam spoke a little bit about her interest in chemical engineering, but with respect to when you made a choice for the specific program and university you're in now, I know a lot of people put a lot of thought and a lot of consideration into where they're going to go, and they consider a variety of different things like geography, they went away from home and all of those things, to how prestigious the program is and the opportunities offered and so on and so forth. So what are some of the factors that you guys did actually consider when choosing your specific field after first year for Balsam and Abdel Rahman, and that specific university as well?
Okay, the thing is, Waterloo doesn't have a general engineering, so you got to know what you want to do right out the gate. When you apply, you have to apply for the specific program, and then that's what you start doing for 1A, first year. So why computer engineering? Honestly, there wasn't like this kudos moment or anything like that. It wasn't anything organic. It was literally three things. One, a lot of my friends were doing computer engineering. Two, it's a program that has good potential, financially speaking, which I know is like looked down upon when choosing a program. Like, don't choose it for the money type
Is it? I don't think so.
I don't know. It just I don't know. Like, just in case, you know, you like to choose programs for organic reasons. I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing like career stability in the program. I think like most 16-year-olds wouldn't know much about career stability. My entire family's been engineers though, so for me that was like the natural career stable choice. And then the third was realistic expectations. So initially I wasn't applying to computer engineering. I was applying to this thing called industrial management engineering, because again, like I had to be realistic, but like I didn't have the marks for computer engineering yet. Okay. And then I started seeing kids get into computer engineering, or so I thought. And then I started seeing kids getting, and they had the marks in me. Wait a minute, they can do it, then I can do it. And so I did it. I just, you know, boosted my average, applied for computer engineering. Everywhere I applied to was computer engineering. the exception of McMaster. I applied to software. Um, and I couldn't apply to Waterloo software engineering because their average requirements just were like insane, man. Like what was the average, man?
97,
Like a 97 cutoff or
97 or
something?
98
Like who does that?
with
Who does that in high
extracurriculars.
school? Like who
Bill
does that, bro?
Gates.
I had a 98. I dropped out of high school, bro. Like I've achieved my purpose. So, anyways, so I'm just like, okay, what's the next closest thing? Computer science or computer engineering? Computer science at Waterloo. You're not getting into that. Don't waste the $50. Just think of something realistic. So I did computer engineering at Waterloo, and yeah, that was it. Why I chose Waterloo specifically, co-op, prestige. Another curriculum for computer engineering is really, really good, and I know their co-op when it comes to software-related jobs are amazing, especially when it comes to like Silicon Valley and whatnot. So that played a really big role. So that's specifically why I chose computer engineering at Waterloo.
Cool.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
happy to share
man,
that
I'm
every time, man.
thinking. Uh, I actually still wasn't sure that I was gonna get in that I wanted electrical until like the last 2 days of the deadline. It was either software or computer engineering or transfer to computer science or electrical. Electrical wasn't even one of the options at the beginning of the year. But then like as I talked to like upper years throughout the year and stuff, I realized like a lot of the people in electrical work in software. Like actually most of them work in software, but I think it still gives you. It might be wrong, but I think it still gives you like a slight advantage when it comes to not jobs, but just general like knowledge about uh like
Phone
computers and stuff,
chargers.
how stuff works. What?
Phone chargers.
Yeah, so because you learn about circuits and stuff, so yeah, I ended up doing electrical, but honestly electrical and computer are very similar. Like even like second year electrical and computer we had the exact same courses,
Yeah.
and third year it's like half of the courses are the same, and then fourth year it's like fourth year you can like an electrical student can actually get most of the computer courses because they have more options. Computer engineering is just more like at Mac especially, it's just more specific, it's just a specialization of electrical. So yeah, I just ended up choosing electrical because more options if I change my mind in the future. So yeah.
So for me personally, I already said, I was kind of already set on chemical engineering. It was more of a question of where I want to go. And ultimately, I think I was choosing between Waterloo and Western, or my last choices. And I feel like naturally people like to go to Waterloo, like what Khalid was saying. Like, of course, it comes with the prestige and like the co-ops and all of that. It's, it is the engineering school. But I guess for me, I was moving away from home. Like, I guess both of you did move from home, but I think student life played kind of a role in my decision, as well as like Western is known for having really good student life, and their engineering community is just like really
Which parties have you
fun.
gone
Like,
to? Huh?
no party,
Yeah, I
no
was just gonna
party.
make that same joke.
But I
Just
mean,
say,
I think, I guess, there's no sense of like competition or like rivalry or anything like that in the engineering community at Western, and that was like that was a really big like selling point for me, and it's true. It's just a really great place to be at. So I felt like I kind of visited the campuses at the schools where I was accepted, and I recommend that to anyone who is trying to decide what school to go to. Just go. You're going to be at the campus a lot, so if you're not liking the vibes, you're probably gonna not like the vibes for a long time. So just visiting Western, talking to people who go to Western, and also another thing is that it's a 4-year program, and co-op is optional but not a graduation requirement. So it's also a great option if you want to go to grad school and you don't want to. I guess at Waterloo it's 5 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you're also looking to go into grad school, considering going to a school with no, with optional co-op is also a thing. Yeah.
But it's also optional at Mac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
actually, you get accepted into co-op from high school.
okay. Interesting.
Yeah, you don't choose. You can apply after, but you have to apply again, like after you enter.
So for Balsam and Abdel Rahman, like how has your experience been like in trying to secure a co-op? Because like at Waterloo or maybe at UST, it might already be ingrained as part of the program. So if it's optional or if it's like one of those things where you can apply to it or not apply to it, have you seen, or in your experience and the experience of your peers, how easy it has been with respect to getting something related to that field?
So I think software is just easier to get co-op at than other, because you can have like multiple projects on it and stuff like
Definitely.
that. And but I think the McMaster portal for jobs, I don't think it's that good. It doesn't have like a lot of good jobs, but I think like you still have like the same options as other school like Waterloo and like U of T and stuff, because everything's online. You can just like search and you can apply. Like there are thousands of jobs, like same jobs, and yeah, and you still need to know like your stuff. Yeah, so you can still apply to them. And I think like the main thing get accepted at a co-op was referrals. Khalid referred me, and I think that's just that's so much better, because I applied to a lot of areas, a lot of jobs, and I got a few interviews, but like I think that was like my last interview, and so I had a few like practice interviews, and so I was able to alhamdulillah secure it. But I think the main part was just a referral.
I'm sure it was your good coding skills.
And the personal project, because they asked me about
Yeah,
my
did you
personal.
talk about that barber app?
No, we talked about a better
No,
one, bro. Tell him.
the McMaster MSA.
Oh, bruh.
Yeah. So that was good, because the guy basically in the interview, he just asked me a bunch of questions on it, and I showed him what I did. And yeah, I think the two things that helped me: the referral and the project, and the practice. Honestly, the practice
You
interviews
said
too.
2 things, man.
Yeah, the practice interviews help with it. Like it's like if it was my first interview, I probably wouldn't have done as good in it.
Yeah, for sure. You get your confidence up too to do more.
Especially when you bomb a few interviews. So yeah. You can tell a funny story about an interview I had. Can I?
Yeah, of course, bro. Go for it.
Yeah? All right. Yeah. So I was doing an interview with PagerDuty, and
Okay.
I what's it called? So before the interview started, I went on the Zoom link like 10 minutes early, and then I was like, you know what? I have some time to kill. I muted, and then I started watching Parks and Rec. And yeah, so I had it. So if they came on, I would hear it. So what's it called? So they gave me a project to work on, and can you stop?
I know the story.
So they gave me a project to work on, and I finished the project and stuff. So I was watching Parks and Rec, and then they came on. So I paused it, but I didn't see where I paused it at. And so I came back to the Zoom link, and then I unmuted and I talked and stuff. And they're like, "Okay, can you share your screen to start on that to see the project?" So I shared my screen, and then as I was going through my windows, I go through the window with the Parson Rec, and I paused it at a moment where where this big fat white dude, hairy dude, has his shirt off. And he's just and his entire stomach is just that fills the entire screen.
Nice.
And I just stopped. Like I didn't even like scroll. I just stopped. I froze. And they looked at it for a good like 2-3 seconds. And so I'm like, oh my bad. And then I just closed it and then went to my window.
The question is, did you get that offer?
No way.
Hell no.
I don't think they even rejected me.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah.
What about you, Balsam?
Oh yeah. Okay. What were we talking about?
Parks and Rec.
The co-ops. Okay. My personal experience was, a lot of my friends who were in ECE, electrical, who were in software and computer, were didn't have any issues finding co-ops. Like first semester, they were all set. First semester of third year, everyone had they all had their co-ops. It was great. I think there's a little bit of struggle for those who are in chem, a little bit for people in civil, just because our job portal doesn't have that many options. And for a lot of us, we just ended up applying externally. So through company websites, we just do our own Google searches and apply. So it really wasn't that bad. But another thing that was super, super, super helpful for a lot of my friends is going to job fairs, just dressing nice, go to your job fair. They take resumes. I know so many people, like countless people who literally just gotten hired off of job fairs, not even applying online. They just gave their resume. So, it wasn't that bad of an experience. It wasn't too difficult. I still ended up with a few interviews lined up in second semester in around January and February. So, it was fine. Yeah.
There are a lot of the places you apply to, because I'm assuming for chemical engineering, there's a much greater demand in places like Calgary and potentially in the States than in
Yes.
Ontario. So did you have to apply to a lot of out of province companies?
Personally, I just didn't want to go to Calgary for 16 months. That I just didn't want to go out of province, so I was applying only in Ontario. But there's also, even within Ontario, there's a lot of demand in Sarnia and Windsor and those sort of areas. But for sure, so many people were supposed to be going to Calgary. I'm not sure now how it is with the COVID-19, but yeah, definitely so many chemical engineers were going to Calgary.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There is one thing I want to ask you guys. So engineering is a little bit notorious for being quite
Easy.
heavy in terms of, yes, very easy. You guys are chilling all the time, watching
For
Parks
sure.
and Rec, but it is notorious for having an intense workload. So I'm wondering if you guys can maybe share your experiences. Is it sort of uniform across all universities? Is it only a couple? So you guys want to talk a little bit about your workload and the sort of transition from high school to uni?
Can I talk about that first?
Sure.
No. So,
No, Khalid. So actually, the reason I wanted to transfer was because I thought engineering was so hard. But I think anything, it's over
transfer into
life side. At the beginning when I didn't want to go into engineering because it was hard. Because everyone was like, "Oh, engineering, that's hard." And I heard stories from countless people, and they're like, "Yeah, it's so hard and stuff," and the course load. But one thing, honestly, it's same. It's not the same thing, but middle school to high school, people are like, "Oh, it's so different. It's way harder. It's semesters and stuff." But what I came to realize was everyone procrastinates no matter where, even at work, and so it's not. It's hard. I think it's just hard because of the course load, but you can still have take some especially I'm not sure about other schools, but Mac I took 5 courses instead of 6, and the second semester I even took 4. I didn't take an elective, and I took one during the summer to make it easier on me, and honestly it wasn't that hard, and I found other people did that as well instead of just taking the 6 courses. So Eng is not really that hard, and yeah, I think it's just over
McMaster.
exaggerated.
I mean,
I think it's over exaggerated a little bit, because people are always like engineering is so hard, and people are like, oh, engineering is the hardest. But I think it's over exaggerated, just because of the course load, which you can take which you can offload to the summer and stuff, and make it easier on yourself.
right.
I disagree.
The
I think
way
everyone
it's
else
still the
wants to like
hardest.
fight
it
you, bro.
depends.
No,
It depends
I think
on.
it's still the hardest
I think.
major, but it's not as hard as people say it is.
I think at Western, it might be a little bit different because for us, we have to take 7 courses each semester for the first year.
7?
7
7?
courses.
What are you
Full
guys
courses?
learning, bro?
7 courses.
What
Full
are you
courses?
guys learning, bro?
So if you're going from high school and you're going from
Alhamdulillah,
4
didn't choose us.
courses, grade 12 maybe, or you had a spare, you were doing 3 courses a semester, and then you're jumping all the way to 7.
I had
You'll feel the
2.
difference.
Bro, I had
I had
5
2
and I
per
failed
semester.
1.
Bro,
I had in high school. I had 2 per semester.
Oh, high
yeah,
school.
so I think definitely just depends. Like what you were saying, you do have the option, obviously. They don't tell you this right away, but you do have the
Yeah.
option of dropping. They're like, you have to do everything right away. And if you don't, I think there's a little bit of fear in first year. Like, if you don't do everything, you don't excel in everything, you're not getting hundreds, that's it, you suck. And that's obviously not the case. A lot of people ended up making their 4-year degree into 5 years, and that's fine. It just depends on your comfort level. But for me personally, after high school, I had a gap year, so I graduated in 2016, and then I left education for a year, and then I came back. So it went from nothing, or like just doing work, and then 7 courses. So it was a little bit of a jump for me. But for sure, I think it's everyone is, it's possible for everyone to do well. It's definitely a procrastination thing. We do procrastinate till the last possible second to do our work, and that's why we feel like it's hard. But a lot of first year is just revision of what you're doing in high school. At least that's how I felt. Like you're doing physics courses and you're doing like things
Especially
that you've
first
seen
semester.
before. Exactly, yeah. Like you're doing things like vectors and forces and like things you've already seen before. You're doing calculus. You're doing calculus again, calculus 1. So like it's fine as long as you're keeping up in high school. You'll be fine. Yeah.
I have a question. You had an American curriculum. So compared to your classmates or your friends who didn't have an American curriculum, like did you see like a noticeable difference in the ability to grasp this information, be it new or old?
I didn't see a difference in the ability to grasp information, but I saw a difference in the Ontario curriculum, for example. In calculus, we go in grade 12, you go all the way up to differentiation. And so when you go into university, integration is a completely new topic. But in American curriculum, you actually cover both fully. Like you basically cover all of Calculus 1. So for me, Calculus 1 was kind of a repeat course. Not to say that I did well, because I did not do well. Again, procrastination. But it was a repeat course. Another thing is like, at least in my school, it wasn't an option to take science courses or to take biology or whatnot. So I did do like the full biology course in high school. But that was super helpful for me because I had a little bit of biochemistry in my chemical engineering module. So for people who haven't gone in depth into like DNA and like metabolic pathways and like biology things, it was kind of like they had to relearn, like they had to learn it from the beginning. But for me, it was kind of like I kind of already know what this is. So that was the major difference, but not that much. Yeah.
Okay, Khalid, it's your turn. Workload. Try not to go on a rant.
Okay, well, this just for some context. Going into uni, I had maybe like the worst time management skills possible. I was used to 3 courses and a spare, slack off all semester, the night of exams or the night of the unit test. You just, take some coffee and you stay up all night and you study. And it paid off, and you go into uni with like a high average thinking you're like some hot stuff. You realize you're not so hot once it starts. I think I had like 6 courses in first semester. 6, 5 maybe. Bro, I was so out of my element. I chilled. The minute I got into the uni I wanted, I completely slacked off. I hit a slumber. I didn't like retain any knowledge up until uni started, and when physics hit, I didn't understand beams. and linear algebra was also new. Programming, dude, we've never taken programming at high school, so that was also like new. Everything was so new. And my toxic trait is that when it's something I'm struggling with or I don't know, I sleep. I ignore it and I just sleep. And so, man, why are you laughing?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I felt that personally in my soul.
So there you go. My first semester was terrible, terrible. It was hard for two reasons. One, the content is harder than high school. It is challenging. It is new stuff. I don't know of any kid who took linear algebra in high school, you know. Um, but definitely passable if you study and you manage your time. I didn't study nor manage my time, so it was a struggle. Took some losses on the way, but engineering is definitely hard. I think, especially when it comes to like U of T and Waterloo, I personally feel like the first and second year are just made to weed out as many kids as possible. They'll do what they can to help you, but like their objective isn't to keep the same amount of kids going through every term because they do have a prestige and a reputation to maintain at the end, right? And that's why you'll see like a lot of failure rates and high like repeat rates and so on. The other thing is when it comes to Waterloo, you don't really have the option of like not taking a course and just taking in the summer. There is no such thing as a summer in Waterloo. It's either you're doing co-op or you're doing school. If it's a core course, you can't take it in co-op. You have to be on campus and take it when it's offered on campus. So you have to like swallow all 6 or 7 every term. So yeah, that kind of makes it harder. Like you either have to be up to the challenge or you don't, or you're not. And there's no such thing as probation. It's like you pass or you fail. You get below the 60 average, you repeat. I know like U of T, there's that whole, oh, you're on probation next term, just get above a 60 next term. And then you don't have an MSAF like McMaster does. Oh, I'm feeling sick today, doctor. And then you just skip the
It's
exam.
only up to 20%.
Dude, don't get me started, man. So you definitely don't have that, you know. You gotta be up to the challenge. So it's definitely hard, man. And again, these unis do have a reputation. They have for a reason. They do have the high cutoff average for a reason. But I think if you do, as like Balsam said, if you do have, the time management that is required and the discipline to put yourself together, pull yourself together and push through the challenge, you'll be a-okay. As long as you don't care about marks, you'll pass.
Wait, so Balsam, question for you. I'm not. You hinted at this a little bit earlier in maybe pursuing grad school. So I'm assuming with grad school, marks are, you know, important-ish. So how do you kind of go about balancing, like what Khalid said, in that kind of just passing and getting done with it, getting a job after, versus trying your utmost best to have a high GPA, do good on tests, and that whole thing.
I mean, personally, I think sometimes you just have to. You see a course, you're struggling with it for like you didn't ask enough questions, you didn't ask for help in the beginning. Finals next week, you're not going to do well. Okay, you're just going to pass. That's fine. You get like a mediocre grade on your grade book. That's fine. For me, like I have tons of those, but it's not it's not something that I would recommend, because I feel like we're paying so much for this degree and we're putting so much time to this degree. And I think, you should always try your best and try to get the best grade you can. I would say, even in terms of co-ops, the people with the highest grades and the people who were getting dean's lists and who had standout grades were the first people to get offered interviews, because a lot of companies do look at your grade book. They do care about how you're performing in school. So I think even if you don't want to pursue grad school, it's still really, really important to make sure your grades are like as good as they can possibly be, right? But in terms of if you do want to pursue grad school, they typically look at your last 2 years. And so it's pretty hard to get a really, really good average in first and second year. And if you have that, that's amazing. Like, good for you. But like what Khalid said, like those years are in a lot of schools designed to weed people out. And you don't usually have the same amount of people who were with you in first year all the way to like third or fourth year. But third or fourth year, I feel like, at least for me at Western, I feel like professors are a little bit more flexible. They're willing to like help you. Your class sizes could be smaller, so like it's easier to communicate and like ask for help and stuff. And people typically have more A's and B's on their grade book. So it is easier to like maintain the average that you need to get into graduate school.
Okay, interesting. So, okay, I have a question kind of building off of that. So the whole weeding out people in the first couple of years, does that foster this sort of kind of really competitive environment, be in terms of grades or trying to get a job or interviews and all of those things? Or and how does it differ with like all of your schools? Because I would assume with Waterloo, it's a little bit more, I don't want to use the word toxic, but it's a bit more like, you know, toxic.
I mean,
Yeah, like you said, like because these schools have this reputation, I'm just wondering like how it is for each of your respective programs or universities.
For sure. Well, I think it depends on the class. I there is definitely a sense of competitiveness in Waterloo. I think you could tell how competitive kids in a program are when they make Reddit posts complaining about the class averages being too high and stuff. So yeah, their whole mentality is that it took a lot to get here. Someone wants my spot. I don't want to give it to them. And there is that mentality. There are people like that. Those people usually are, for the right reasons, good at what they do. They have good marks. They try really hard, and they deserve everything that comes their way because they earned it. So you'll notice like there are some arrogant kids, but I think that's in every program. Like there's gonna be a couple arrogant kids in like the top whatever percent. Apart from that though, man, like if you find kids who are just as dumb as you in the course, they'll be more than willing to help you because we all want to get smart together, I've in my experience, I've asked people who are like, geniuses, and you think, oh, this would be easy peasy for them to solve. Them. You just asking a question, and then they'll hit you back with like, oh, how do you not know this? Some loser stuff. So like there's going to be kids who like are full of themselves. It's toxic. Yes. There's going to be that sense of competitiveness. Yes. I know, for example, my class got to vote on like with the whole COVID thing, exam weights and midterm weights shifted. I don't know if that happened to you guys as well. So we had a chance to vote. Like, we want the exam to be worth higher and the midterm to be worth lower. And my reasoning was like, yeah, I mean, dude, you get 24 hours or whatever, or 3 days or something.
You're saying Mac is easy?
Mac is
40.
so light, man. If I sit to Mac today, I'll get a PhD next week, bro. I'm kidding. Sorry.
Exhibit A of the type of people at Waterloo.
No, I'm kidding. So my rhetoric was like, okay, this is a take-home test. It's open notes, easy 100, and I could use an easy 100. But some people disagreed, and I was surprised to find out that their logic was like, no, if everybody gets 100, the class average will be skewed, and that's not reflective of a competitive program. They didn't like that. They didn't want the class average to be that high because then it devalues how high their marks are. And again, if you earned your mark, you earned your mark. Credits to you. You put in the effort, and you're there for a reason. But it just goes to show the mentality of like, I wouldn't care if the next kid got 100 as long as I get 100 because it doesn't affect my 100, you know? And employers don't see the class average. You get what I'm saying? Versus kids who care a lot about where they stand and with respect to where the rest of the kids stand. So it's toxic in that sense. But you know, just stay away from those kind of kids, man, unless you have the brains to keep up with them. And just relax, man. If your goal isn't to like go to postgrad, like mine isn't, I try to do like co-ops and just work full time. Just enjoy, bro, because you'll get to learn a lot of cool stuff in engineering, and you get to do like really impactful stuff, and you have the potential to actually have an impact, you know, like in the big picture. So just enjoy. This is the most fun parts of your life. And I know engineering isn't where you envisioned it to be, but it's what it is.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I don't think
Go for it. Go ahead.
McMaster is that competitive or
He was
toxic.
trying to compete to get married, bro.
What's it called? Yeah, I don't think it's that toxic. Like, I think everyone just helps each other, even the smart kids. I remember like first semester, their physics assignments. We have like weekly physics assignments, and my friend and I, we'd be sitting at the library. Obviously, couldn't do a lot of them, and then we'd ask like we saw like a group of students doing them, and we just go ask them. Some of them really smart, and yeah, like everyone just helps each other. Yeah, I don't think it's like I don't think it's that. There are obviously a few toxic people, but I didn't encounter any. Actually, no, I did encounter one in physics. It's physics lab. I remember that guy.
Call him out, bro. What's his Instagram?
I forgot his name.
Drop his at.
I forgot his name. Even in labs, like people help each other. This guy was just very rude. Yeah, I didn't like him. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. So it was fair.
Mutual. Okay.
It was mutual. But he knew his stuff, so that was the advantage. So yeah, that was good.
Okay, low key, I left my door open. I need 1 second. I'm so sorry, Faiza. Anyway, I have to cut this out.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Yo,
kind of like in
wait. What did you do? What did you do to not like that guy? Yeah. What did you and the other guy do to not like each other?
They just don't like dumb people like Abdel Rahman.
No, I think I was asking. No, actually, I ended up. It was in the physics lab, and they ended up answering it. But the guy was just. I can't remember what he did. I think he was just being rude. Like I asked him a question. We're supposed to work on it together, and I asked him a question. I think he didn't respond or something. He just looked at me, and yeah, I just didn't want to look at him.
To be honest, though, kids like that are used to like kids trying to use them for marks.
Yo,
No,
okay.
he was just rude. It was supposed to be partners.
Oh, he's your partner.
Yeah.
Isn't he supposed to help you? Is his job
Exactly.
to help each other?
Thank
But
you.
did he do all of it?
No, not like 75%.
He carried?
75%.
And you're out here complaining?
Yeah,
bro?
but he wasn't like even from the beginning. He wasn't answering. He just wanted to do his stuff, and yeah. So I was just I wasn't with him after. I went to a 3-man group.
3-man team.
That was good. Because I got carried.
Yeah, like my experience at Western, I think I already said, like, it's a really, really, really great community. We're so helpful with each other. Like, everyone is like great. Everyone like everyone lifts each other up. We don't have like an issue with averages or class averages or anything like that. Our group chats are poppin', but
Definitely, yeah.
It's a really good community. And I think the only time when you would feel like there's some sense of like competition is in first year, because first year is general, and then after that you kind of have to get into your module. So you know, some modules like software or computer have higher cutoffs, average cutoffs, so that's why it's like people a lot, like people going to software get pretty competitive, but beyond that, like most people always end up getting to whatever module they wanted, and then it's just great after that. And I know some schools have the saying where like your ranking. I don't know if this is true, but my friend was telling me at Waterloo and UFT they tell you your ranking, which I think is insane. And like
So toxic.
my self-esteem would literally drop because that's literally the worst thing I've ever heard. I'm so sorry if you have to go through that. Western doesn't do that. You just get your mark, and if you have an 80 average or above, you're in Dean's List, and if you don't, you're not on Dean's List, and that's that. So I really like that. Yeah.
Khalid, what was your rank?
Yo, I stopped checking. After 1A. I think I was like 289th or something out of 300 kids.
I felt that.
Bruh.
I just stopped, bro. No, it's not worth the Wi-Fi anymore, bro.
It's just not with the Wi-Fi, bro. Okay, I have a question for you guys. So, you guys talked about how the workload can get really intense or is really intense, except for Abdel Rahman, who offloads some of his courses for the summer. But how do you sort of manage the balance between school and making sure you're prepping for exams and all of those things versus, kind of staying sane, having a social life, that whole thing?
Oh, I don't.
Waterloo don't have a social life. I don't think you know what it is.
You don't believe me? We don't have.
Did you hear the question?
Yes. Can you
Okay.
answer me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. For sure. No social life. But I kind of choose that, to be honest, man. Like, the last thing I want to do after like school, 8 to 5 or whatever it is like meet more people, man. At the end of the day, you're kind of burnt out in labs and stuff. You just want to go to sleep, have some nice ramen noodles or whatever, and just bum it for a bit, like de-stress. I tried to be in the MSA this term, and boy, I was foolish. I can't manage it. I know some people can do it, mashallah, but I think for like the average person, you've got class 8 to 5. You waste like 2 hours in a day, just doing like silly stuff, like Netflixing and just scrolling Reddit. At least I do. I know the man wastes like 4. And then and then you have to study and you've got assignments and stuff, and those things take a lot of time. Sometimes you have like a project that'll swallow your entire week. So I think it's a very unhealthy balance on my end. Like, I know there was a lot of times where I could have easily went out to like an MSA event and chilled, and I would have still had the same productivity. But I think because you're so stressed about like you don't want to waste time and you're afraid like, what if you need these 2 hours later on, and so you just want to use it as to the best of your abilities. So that's it on my end. I know the social life of McMaster just consists of like trying to get married by 3rd year. Rahman, could you comment, please?
Bro, no, we're not going there. We're not going there.
No, the social life is Netflix and having a
Parks
life.
and Rec. Yeah, you watch Parks and Rec.
I finished that, man, a long time ago. Yeah. Yo, Khalid, I have a question for you.
Oh, man.
If you had known that obviously you knew Waterloo was this hard, would you have still chosen Waterloo if you knew it was that hard, and you still basically almost have the same outcome? It's a tough question, but
honestly, assuming I'm going to be the same engineering program I got accepted into when I applied.
Yeah,
I got guaranteed choice for software. Okay, so yes, I would have gone to McMaster had I had software engineering, but not because Waterloo sucks, but because what you learn after doing a bunch of co-ops is you can get the same co-op regardless of which school you're in.
that
you just grind, bro. If you just grind and you get the referrals, my best co-ops weren't even through the Waterloo portal. They were through a referral. And the ones that were through the Waterloo co-op aren't at all that notorious or fancy. The thing is, though, most Waterloo kids in their third and fourth year get to FANG, which I don't think is the case at
So I don't
which I
think
don't
it's as advertised as Waterloo.
it's because
But I think there's
I'm
still a
not,
lot of people. Like I wasn't sure, but when you check, I was checking like LinkedIn and like a lot of companies. There is still a lot of people who are doing internships at like the big companies. But I don't think it's just at
yeah,
Mac. I
but
don't think it's just as advertised or through the portal. I think it's
no,
just
no,
outside.
look, the thing is because of how readily available, like because how the co-op system works a lot, there's kids doing co-op every other
It's
month.
easier at Waterloo, 100%.
Yeah, so you'll notice, like, even if you ask a lot of the guys in FANG, you'll notice that most of the interns employed there are from Waterloo. That's like a stat to it. There was an article about it or something.
You define FANG for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, FANG is Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and Google, or Amazon. So anyways, you'll notice that most of the kids employed in those companies when it comes to interns are Waterloo students. So it's definitely easier to get it when you're in those years, but because you have 6 co-ops by the time you're there, right? As opposed to having one POI that's like solid and you don't really get the luxury of changing. Not a lot of kids do what you did, right? Of like delaying graduation and doing co-ops on the side and stuff like that, you know? So it comes at a greater cost.
Yeah.
However, that would be a cost I'm willing to pay because I'm in no rush to graduate. And if it gives me the same outcome, but with a chill life and a rishta, done. Done. Sorry.
Yo, Khalid, bro, we'll have a one-on-one chat after this. If there's something you need to get off your chest, like, you can have a chat, bro.
I wonder why he wants to come to Mac.
I like the campus.
Bro, Mac looks like a factory, man. I swear to God.
Yo, Mac is a factory. You know that.
What do you mean? It's a beautiful campus.
Twice.
It's a beautiful, way better than Waterloo's.
Listen, I think you guys.
You have to admit that.
Honestly, anything is better than Waterloo's.
Waterloo is depressing. Waterloo, they literally threw buildings.
Listen,
They threw buildings. They threw buildings. They threw buildings, and they're like, "All right, that's the campus," and they just add buildings on.
You study beside an iron factory, okay? You guys are living in the freaking Great Revolution.
What iron factory?
Like the 1800s, bro.
What iron factory?
Okay. There's like some factory right beside the campus, man. You see all the toxicity blowing out of the chimneys.
That one.
Okay. That's where half of your school is employed for your co-ops, bro. Relax.
Look, the only thing Waterloo campus has on the McMaster campus is the food.
Geese.
But that's it. But that's it. Only the food.
Yeah, no. The food is amazing.
Only the food. They have like 5 shawarma places in the same plaza.
It's so sick, man. It's even better if you're into like the Asian cuisine. Anyways, which sidetracked?
Yes, we did. Oh man. So okay, I'm curious about so some of you guys, well, I guess all of you have mentioned about co-ops and sort of what you want to do after you want to get into after you graduate. So what exactly is it that you guys want to do like after you graduate? Like I know all of you guys say you want a job, but like that's quite, broad and vague. Is there something specific that you guys are looking to do or that you guys think you're interested in? Because I would assume that even though, like chemical or computer electrical engineering has similar prospects, I'm sure there's a bit of variability in terms of what you can do after. So if you guys can share what your post-grad plans are.
Okay. My post-grad plans consist of 3 things. So initially, I know for the first couple of years, experience and validation is important in like the software industry. So I kind of want to work full-time for one of the big dudes, make a decent salary, live in like a dinky apartment, share a room with like another person and scrap as much money together as you can. And then come back here and be financially well off to do 2 things. 1, work for myself and start doing like contracting as an applications developer. earn my own thing. And then the third would be, honestly, it's kind of like a pipe dream, but you kind of want to invest. I don't have any of that money right now.
All in Android, like your jobs.
Sorry.
Android development, all or something
just application development in general, be it like React, Android, or Swift. And I could, I could hire you if I need Swift. So yeah, that's the end goal. Work for one of the really big companies in the States, get some money, get some stock options, be financially stable, get to validation, come here and do two things: work for myself, contract, make my own money, or work for a startup that I'm actually particularly passionate about in downtown Toronto, and become like a core member of the team and have like a big role to play. So I have yet to see where my actual path takes. So that's what I kind of want to do. I know I want to do software, and I know for like for the next foreseeable future, at least, I want to continue doing software. I like the particular kind of software that I'm doing. I've been doing app dev since my first co-op, and it's 5 co-ops now, and I'm still doing app dev. That's what I want to do full time. Although I do recognize that the burnout in the industry is incredibly fast. So at some point you have to transition into like a managerial position, which is why I'm saying work for a startup and get an important role there, or you work for yourself and kind of be your own boss. So I have to decide.
Cool.
Rahman's gonna be Bill Gates.
What? What did he say?
I said you're gonna be Bill Gates. Go, man.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't. My main goal after graduating is not to work for a big company. Like as good as that is, but I think it's just a different career path. Because like I feel like at the big companies, especially, you don't have as much as an impact as you do if you start your own. What is it? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah, I hear it.
What is it?
I don't know. It was like a train or something, or a plane. I don't know. It was something.
Yeah, there's a train in my room actually.
Anyway, yeah, I don't want to work at a big company as good as that is. Like doing an internship there or working there full time. Like honestly, it's amazing, but it's not my goal to do that. I think my main goal is to start a startup or join one, just because I think you have more impact, especially in software where it's really connected to everything, basically all the industries. Like everything is connected everything is connected to software now, and I think there's a lot of opportunities there. And yeah.
Cool.
So for me personally, this is the question that I want to like dodge, because I feel like a lot of people at this point kind of have a nice like laid out plan, which I think is like amazing, like how like what Khalid like just sort of like laid out. For me, I feel like I went into chemical engineering thinking it was more narrow, but now I realize it's so broad. And I did specialize in like biochemical and environmental engineering, so like I guess I kind of wanted to go down the more environmental route, like clean energy sort of like situation. My co-op is supposed to be with Bruce Power. I'm supposed to be on site. Oh, for if you don't know what Bruce Power is, it's a nuclear energy plant. So it was supposed to be with them. I need to be on site. So unfortunately, it's been a little bit delayed due to current times. But I was sort of relying on that to sort of guide me if I kind of wanted to stay in that sort of industry, or if it wasn't a fit for me and I wanted to do something else. But I guess I have all my options open. I think if I don't end up going on my co-op with Bruce Power, or I don't end up liking it, I'm also considering going to grad school, which I kind of talked about earlier. So I think my options are a little bit open, because I just realized this is so broad and I have a lot of options, and I just don't want to like put myself in a box or like narrow it down, and I think that's okay. I feel like a lot of people who are in my position are like kind of panicking. Oh, I'm in third year, like I should know what I want to do with my life or whatever. But I've kind of come to terms with the fact that it's okay if, you know, you're open, you're flexible, and you just kind of let it take you where it wants to go, sort of, you know. Yeah.
Interesting. Good to know. I mean, you can always create your own startup, you know, poke a hole in the ground, get some oil, and, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because I was always like very environmental, I want to get into something environmental. I was very adverse into like applying for anything that's like in Calgary. Like I really don't want to kind of do like a job that has to do with oil, which kind of contradicts the whole point that I went to chemical engineering. But
I mean, you can like, you know, get them to adopt some sort of circular economy by having them recycle like some of their outputs. You never know. You never know.
You could
yeah.
you take a software dev boot camp and join us.
Right. Yes, this guy's recruiting since second year for his future startup.
For me,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I like programming. I mean, I did programming once in first year, and I was like, this is cool. I don't want to do it forever, but it's cool.
No, you want to do it forever. Trust me.
I guess the last thing I wanted to discuss before ending it off was, do you think there are any misconceptions within the field of engineering that you think it's important to uncover or address for those who are considering it? Because like Khalid said earlier, when you're 16 or 17, you don't really know too much about all the different fields, and you have very limited information. So now that you guys are in the process of doing it and have completed a few years, do you think there's anything kind of glaring in terms of misconceptions?
Does anyone else want to start this off?
School does not matter. Zero.
Okay, relax.
Okay, I'm not even in Eng, and I'm pretty sure that's not true, bro.
No, Khalid can. I think Khalid can
Why are you
confirm
throwing
that.
me under the bus? Why are you throwing me under the bus?
Khalid can confirm that 100%.
Okay, I think your
It's for
statement's like
software.
very,
For
very
software.
like.
Here's the thing.
For software. For software only. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, everything I have used in my co-ops, I have not learned from school. I had to teach myself. So it doesn't matter in that sense. Could have gotten the same jobs with a different degree had I had the same experience, is what I'm trying to say. Thing is, though, the degree does matter, not because of like it'll give you like a certain edge or anything, but because it gives you validation. You know, like the entryway. Like you and somebody else who didn't go to your program but applying at the same jobs can both have the same experience. You having a certificate from software or certificate from computer engineering is validation that you are certified in this curriculum. You know, it's a proof that you have completed the required training, and you're good at what you do, and you've succeeded in the curriculum. So that's one misconception I like to clear up, that school doesn't matter. School doesn't matter when you're doing your day-to-day stuff. You know, I'm sure that's true with every field. You're not always like, when was the last time any of us used integration in any of our co-ops? You know, but it matters because it's a fundamental that you need to learn other fundamental concepts. You know, and it matters because the name and the brand and the validation is what gets you through the door. But anyways, the other misconception is that you have to sacrifice a lot to do well in this program, and that's not true. A lot of people find the balance in this program, and they thrive, and they have a really healthy balance when it comes to social life and volunteer work and in school. You just have to work on your like skill sets, on your time management, discipline, priority management, and so on. And the last thing is that like the engineering at one school will give you access to things that engineering at another school wouldn't. That's so wrong. That's wrong. I've worked side by side with literally like dropouts and kids who went to schools other than Waterloo, and we're both working the same internships. One school might make it easier, but if you have the same passion and the same drive, you'll both achieve the same goal.
Doesn't that contradict what you said? That school doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter when it comes doing your day-to-day job. Like, you're not going to use calculus in work. You know, you can be, and I literally said this as well, you can both get the same job, even if you go to different universities. So you just have the same experiences. It might, like I said, it might open easier doors for you. But if you were listening, I also said, if you have the same passion and same drive, you'll achieve the same goal. So don't be disappointed in yourself if you're applying to like a competitive school and you didn't get into it and you feel like you're settling for another school. No, engineering in one school is engineering in another school. And the same passion that you're going to bring to that school, bring it to the other school, and you'll achieve the exact same goals. So that's it for me. Do you have any wise words, Mohawk?
Wait, what? It's not visible.
Yeah, it is.
It is?
Yes,
I did not know that. I
Any
thought it was just
misconceptions?
what's it called? Yeah, I don't
Not everybody
still
gets
feel like
in
I
their third
still
year
feel
lectures.
like school doesn't matter. Just because like I see people like even like chemical engineering dropouts, like Khalid said, like even dropout, like not drop. I mean, like some a software engineer, a staff software engineer. He graduated from chemical engineering, and you're working alongside people like even like at my company. There's a lot of people from Waterloo engineering. There's a lot of people from Wolf, no McMaster, but still like from all over. Like even college, like a lot. I'm pretty sure like I would say like 20% of the software engineers are colleges. And so that's why I say school doesn't matter, because you end up working like at the same, like they're the same age, and they end up working the same jobs, even though they graduated very different schools. So yeah, that's why I say school doesn't matter, just because like people, different majors, different schools, different types of universities, like if you're Waterloo, Wolf, or colleges, and you end up doing the same job
The thing
at the
is,
same
though,
age. Like
the
I
thing
think
is,
it makes it a little bit easier if you're at what's it called, a more like engineering school like Waterloo. But I still don't think it really matters that much, because what's gonna get you through is the interviews, and that is all. Like you have to do that on your own.
but
You
the
know,
thing is, you're not going to stay a software developer forever, and you're going to need a degree when you want to go into managerial positions later on. You know,
you're gonna need a
I mean,
business degree,
no.
not
There's
a.
a lot of managers in engineering teams who have engineering degrees, like your tech lead, your level 5 lead, or your like even your product manager can have an engineering degree. That was the case in a lot of my companies, and for a reason. You know, like you do need some of these fundamentals later on. You can't thing about saying the degree doesn't matter. It's true with an exception if you both want to be a software developer, because software dev is something that's accessible to everybody. That's the whole point of software. It's open source. Anybody everywhere can teach themselves and have the same output. But you're not going to be a software developer your entire life, right? You're going to hit 35. You're probably going to burn out at 30. Let's be realistic. You're not going to code past that. But let's say you hit 35, you know, and you've been coding the same thing every day. What are you going to do?
What do you mean by burnout?
So the concept of burnout in software is that not a lot of kids stay software developers in the software industry. They all progress and move on because it's incredibly taxing. It's exhausting. You do the same thing. It's very mundane, very monotonous. When you do the same thing day in, day out for the same hours every day, you know, looking at the same screen every day, talking to the same people every day. You can change your company so many times. You can change your language so many times. But at the end of the day, the job stays the same, right? So that's why there's a burnout. A lot of kids leave the software dev and they go into something else. You know, product manager. What are you gonna? Oh, you gonna be a tech lead? You want to be a team lead? You want to be a project manager? You know, you want to be an engineering manager, CTO, and so on. You need a degree for that stuff. You know, like chances are your manager wasn't a dropout. He's someone who went to an engineering degree, right? Chances are your team lead is and also a dropout. He's someone who had a certification.
I agree with the manager part. I think that's true. The manager part, you do need a degree, but I don't think tech lead needs a. I don't think it's a. I'm not sure, honestly. I don't have experience, like that much experience to work on.
You get what I'm saying.
But,
like let's not
I do.
argue the specifics, but you get it. Like when you want to move up the ladder, the corporate ladder, the degree is important. So I agree with what you're saying.
Yes,
Sorry,
please. Go
didn't
ahead.
mean to cut you off. I feel like my opinion is a little bit different. I guess we've been talking a lot about software and computer, and I guess I would speak more for the other type of degrees, which are chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, those type of like non-software computer type degrees. I do think, or like civil, for example, in those cases, your degree does kind of matter, maybe a little bit more. Like you guys were mentioning, you can sort of learn software, you can learn to program externally, even without, going to university. You can go to a college, you can learn on your own. It's a lot of it is based on what you can present. Like, these are my projects, these are the things that I can do, this is my skill set. Whereas for some other majors where you're sort of responsible for people's lives a lot of the time, so say if you're making a building, civil engineering, the most basic sort of example I can give you, chemical engineering, you're responsible for water sanitation, making sure that people's water in their taps is clean and that the process is going correctly. Things like that, your degree does matter. So no one's going to get that role unless they're an engineer, they're actually a professional, because it'd be really dangerous or kind of stupid if like you kind of get someone who is like, I learned it, I read the books, I know how to do this, trust me, you know what I mean? So in that case, your degree does matter. I think in terms of grades, again, like I always recommend you try your best. Do you want to keep your options open in case you do decide you want to go to grad school? You want to be able to be like, hey, you know what? I can because I have the grades for that. Or, employers do look at your grades sometimes when you're doing your co-ops in the beginning and you don't have that much experience. They do look at your grades. So in that case, like it does matter. So I think it kind of depends on what you're deciding to major in, where it kind of depends, like does school matter, does school not matter, things like that. But you're right about the fact that you're going to learn a lot of calculus and physics and, like in my case, chemistry, and like you're going to learn about some things that you're never ever going to use again. You're going to write that final, it's done, you never have to look back at it. But it's good to know, and I think when you learn the material the best you can, for me, I feel like it expands your mind and expands your understanding of the world, and you want that, because I don't know if either of you had a conversation with someone who's kind of like just barely passing, right? They're just passing, and that's what they decided to do, right? Like that's fine. I don't know why you're doing that. Like I'm sure I'm sure you're doing great in school, and
We're all looking at Khalid.
no, I'm sure you're doing great in school, and like you're in like computer, so I guess the case might be a little bit different. But when you're someone who's like just barely passing or like failing, like you're not really, maybe you're not putting in all that much effort, or this degree doesn't matter to you that much, like you will notice the difference when you're talking to them about your profession, about your degree. You will notice the difference. So I guess my recommendation for anyone watching this who wants to go into engineering and you're like, you know what, it just, all that matters at the end is me getting a job. Yes, in comparison to somebody who's in science, they have to work really hard and get really, really good grades. They're super competitive. They're trying to get into med school. They're trying to, get into really good graduate schools. So I guess it matters a little bit less, but for your own benefit as a student and as a person, I would say, do your best. And again, I guess the last thing I probably want to touch upon is there's this pressure when you go into Eng, is that you're smart. You were a class topper in your high school, and then you go in with all these, really, really, really smart people, and you realize you're average or you're below average. Definitely in places where, like in Waterloo, where the cutoff is super high, you're just like, damn, I'm not special, not as special as I thought I was, right? And then there's this like pressure that you have to excel and you have to do all your classes and you have to go, you have to pass. If you fail something, failing is like a huge deal, right? But in reality, that's not true. Like, don't put that much pressure on yourself. Take it easy, live your best life, not too much, but don't kill yourself to achieve these grades and these numbers. Yeah.
No, I agree. And just to reiterate two of the things you said. One, yeah, the whole degree doesn't matter thing, that argument can only be entertained with respect to like software. Anything else, you can't teach yourself physics. I don't know anybody. I don't know, unless you're like a really big nerd, bro. Like, you can't teach yourself like.
I realized you've never like revisited physics after first year for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
F equals
Thank
MX.
God.
F equals MX.
So yeah, 100%. Like we can't even entertain that topic if it doesn't relate to software. The other thing is with regards to failing, that's so true. There's like this pressure, like, oh, you're not gonna graduate on time, sort of thing as well. I don't know if any of you guys experienced
It's
it.
like, who cares if I take an extra year? I'm
Yeah.
young
Yeah.
and I shouldn't be in a hurry, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that big of a deal.
That's exactly
It really
it.
isn't.
That's literally it.
I
You
like
shouldn't be
in
in a rush.
first year, I felt so much pressure. I was friends with people who had really, really great work ethic. I don't have the worst great work ethic, but I guess it just wasn't enough in first year. I feel like first year is definitely the worst year, the most difficult year, and it has the most like course load. Most difficult in terms of readjustment. Definitely not not in course content. Course content gets more difficult, but so I didn't pass every single course in first year, and I thought that was such a shame. I went to summer school, alhamdulillah. For first year courses, they have summer school options. After that, if you fail a course, it's kind of a problem. But
That's right.
in first year, because the class sizes are so big, you can go back. I walked into my class and I was like so ashamed, and then I look up and like so many people are there, like we are all in the same boat, and it's like, who cares?
No, that's actually a really good point. If you're struggling, chances are half the kids are struggling.
Yeah, exactly. And like
that's
we're all in the same like mental level. We all had the same marks in high school, so like don't be ashamed if you're struggling.
And don't compare yourself to others if it's going to impact you toxically. Like if you want to look up to someone and kind of have the same work ethic, that's one thing. But if you keep putting yourself down because you feel like you're not as intelligent or achieving as much as the other kids, that's not going to get you anywhere. Just focus on yourself and improving yourself. One last thing, I know we're a little bit over time. One last thing, the same rhetoric applies to co-ops, and that's especially true at Waterloo. You will see kids who get like Wish, Facebook, Google, Uber in like their second, third years, and you're gonna feel like, man, I am nothing. I'm down here, and these kids are all the way over here. Just trust the process. You will get the interview. Almost every fourth year gets those interviews because they want kids who are about to graduate. Just improve your skill sets, learn your fundamentals, appreciate what you're learning, implement it in what you're trying to do at work, and so on. And you'll get to where you want to be. And if you don't, that's completely okay. We both do the same thing at the end of the day. We both code or whatever it is your job is. So just relax, no pressure, no mushkilat.
I guess the last thing that I wanted to mention was for me when I was choosing between Western and Waterloo. I know if you're in Waterloo, like you're definitely going to get a co-op because it's a graduation requirement, right? Like you have to. And I actually wanted to ask you, Khalid, do you get like, if you add up all the months you've been working, is that like 16 months essentially?
I've actually worked 20 months so far.
That's a lot.
30?
20, relax.
Okay, so
actually,
is this your last?
Oh no, not even close. I'm still second year, man. So I actually have.
Wait, you took an extra co-op though, right?
I had to repeat a term, so I actually took 2 extras or something like that. I have 5, where most kids right now should only have 3, so 2 extras. Those 2 came so clutch. Like I wouldn't have the co-op I had now had I not learned those things on that co-op. But yeah, I think you need 6 to graduate or 5 to graduate, so that's 20, and then 6 would be 24. So you get 2 years of experience, and that's the maximum requirement that's the maximum you can have if you want to apply to professional engineering. You can only have 24 months, right, of co-op. So yeah, that's what it is.
So I guess the difference would be if you're going to a school, I guess the same would apply for McMaster, where co-op is optional. You're getting 16 months of co-op maximum instead of the 24 that you could possibly get at Waterloo. And I think there's a little bit of concern for anyone who applied to Waterloo and couldn't get in, went to Western, or people who chose to go to Western or go to McMaster over Waterloo, as would we find co-ops, because now it's kind of up to us in our own personal commitment to finding a co-op, as opposed to the school making you like you have to get one. And the fact is, like, every single person that I know in my year ended up going to a co-op. And I know that, like, people were really, really scared they wouldn't find one. But the truth is, like, there's so many co-op jobs out there. There's a crazy amount of co-op jobs out there. Everyone who tries even just a little bit gets a job. So it's like, don't be scared if you're going to a school that doesn't have a co-op requirement and you're scared you won't get one. You will get one.
Yeah, no, I actually second that. You can get a co-op anywhere, school or no school, even if your school doesn't offer it. You just need to like have the discipline and the passion, honestly, to like work on your skill sets outside of your own time and apply. And you're gonna fail a lot, like the first couple times. My first interviews were
the first interviews are always a little bit brutal, and like you're not used to it. So that's like that's your learning one. My first interview was with a company called Connectrix. They're a consulting company, and so they were with it was with like they work with Bruce Power, so they are on site on the nuclear plant, but they aren't Bruce Power themselves. So their interview was extremely brutal. They asked me a lot of questions, like, what if it was a lot of it was like conflict mediation, and they were like, what if this girl, I told her to come work with you and she said no, what would you do? And I'm like, oh, like I would see like why she doesn't want to, and they're like, yeah, but she's saying she has too much work and she doesn't want to work with you. Like, they ask so many like strange questions.
Weird. So
like,
what do you even say?
It's not the questions where you go on LinkedIn and then you see like the questions that people typically ask and you kind of learn them. Oh, tell us about yourself. What would you do in this situation? Blah, blah, blah. They really grilled me, and there was like a lot of like poker face. I couldn't tell if I was doing well or not. And that kind of really like made me feel so upset, because I was like, that's my first interview and I bombed it and it was so hard, right? And I didn't end up getting it, but it was the first one, but it was so hard. So it was like a great practice for the next one. So when I did end up interviewing with like Bruce Power themselves, I ended up getting it because I had already the previous experience. So
okay.
I can imagine they're like asking you, tell me a little bit about yourself. So listen, if there's a girl who doesn't want to work with me,
I would do this, and I'm a really good conflict mediator. I don't even know. It was good practice though, so I'm not mad about it anymore.
I have a question. So you mentioned Bruce Power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it owned by Bruce Wayne? That's it. I just wanted to make.
Yo, can you kick him out? Kick him out, please. Kick him out. Kick him out right now.
Faizan, let's wrap it up.
Done?
Let's wrap it up. He killed our vibe. He killed the vibe.
Oh my God.
It's dead.
I'm so sorry. No, I do want to say one thing though. If for those kids who are applying interviews and not applying internships on their own time, specifically true for software and like anything that requires technical knowledge, so even like UX, UI and stuff. You need to know your software. I didn't know anything for my first couple of interviews, and I got asked the technical questions. Well, I was reading English on the whiteboards. I didn't know what to say then. And one time he booked an hour for an interview. This was the BlackBerry Messenger, and they put an interview. They put a question on the board. It was like, "Oh, reverse this sentence," I didn't know beans, so I wrote it backwards. Like, so that's it. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, but I think we've seen all we need. Thank you.
Oh.
bro.
R.I.P.
Yeah, I think the first interview, you start off very confident, and then the first interview comes, and then you go all the way down.
Like brings your self-esteem down.
Way down, and then you just start going up from there.
Yeah.
I have a question actually. So I'm assuming for software, as Khalid talked about his backwards thing, it's a bit more technical. But when you were doing your interviews for chemical, how were they? Were they mainly behavioral, or was there an element of some technical knowledge also that was needed?
For chemical engineering, so a lot of things for chemical engineering are the most technical we'll get in terms of like, I don't know, being engineers, I guess, is like we're working on softwares and stuff like that. We're like designing a flow or process, whatever, but they don't really ask you about that kind of stuff. So much of it is is just like behavioral questions. But I guess for people who are going to mechanical, they could ask you about SolidWorks. They want you to know how to be able to do those things. So I think it's really good and really important to actually like try to master those skills, do extracurriculars that involve you working with those type of softwares, because you'll get asked about it and you definitely will use it. But actually I've realized for chemical engineering, like I've personally went on to, we do a lot of MATLAB, and I've also went on like on my own and like try to learn Python. We do C++ in like first year, which I guess is kind of obsolete and no one uses it as much.
Whoa,
I don't know if people use it.
whoa.
Is it? I don't know.
Relax. I just had an exam on it, bro. Don't do this.
Okay, so it's not obsolete. I don't know. You tell
No,
me.
man. It's not obsolete.
And currently Western students learn like Java in first year instead of C++. They've changed the curriculum. So actually when employers see this, they're like, oh, this is really good, because you might actually end up using it. So as much as everyone else who isn't software computer likes to trash software and computer students, because I don't know, they think they're know-it-alls. No offense. I don't know. This is just my personal experience. You guys, everyone is trying to design an app. Everyone is an entrepreneur. We're like, okay.
That's the business, guys. That's the business, guys.
You guys are all entrepreneurs too. You're like, we're all trying to design this app. Go download my app. It's on the Google Play Store now.
Can you download the Mac MSC app and see how beautiful it is?
Exactly. So
we should monetize the app. Put some ads in there.
Even though we are like, honestly, they're so annoying, whatever, what you guys do is important and it's really relevant in today's industry. So even if you're doing things that isn't software or computer, it's good to have some sort of like knowledge of programming, because it does impress employers. Yeah. And know your Excel really well. They might ask you questions on Excel. I don't know, but Excel's kind of
I got that base covered.
I know.
You guys are
Waterloo,
spreadsheet masters.
Waterloo had introduced a new program, architectural engineering and stuff, and like their interviews are they're also pretty technical. Like you need schematics and designs and like actual little mini models and stuff. So it's a lot. Like every degree, at some point, sooner or later, you're gonna have it like a technical interview. You know.
So more technical is like civil, mechanical, architecture for sure. Chemical, less so technical.
I know, like, I had a sibling who was in industrial engineering, and they're always asked to, like, design flows, optimization problems, in, industrial processes and stuff, which is technical in their sense, So that's technical knowledge that you need to know, and like, because there's a general pattern that you have to follow, and there's like principles you need to implement and stuff. So just just study, man. Like you gotta, you need to study or go to this thing, like these things called like 10,000 cups of coffee. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Has any probably heard of it? It's like a networking thing where you go and they critique your resume and your mock interview prep and stuff like that. You gotta go to those.
Schools do have mock interview preps, and I personally didn't use it, but maybe if I did, I would have done better on my first interview. Like I think it's something that people should utilize for sure.
I was really cocky in my first interviews. I remember like I went to ones in like ripped jeans and a sweater that says like heartbroken or something.
Okay, well, that's on you.
and the people interviewing were like between staunch, like
we really need to have a chat after this.
I mean, he got a job, so
we need to talk about his outside work life a little bit.
Well, you don't wear suits to like an interview, like a software.
Yeah. I had a friend. I see a lot of kids who do that now in first year, and I kind of just have like a little giggle because they know they're gonna be in for like a rough ride because their interviewer's probably wearing like a pink T-shirt that says like "Go Mario" or something. It's all quirky. Yeah, it's fun stuff.
I have a question. So I know in business, networking is really important, and Abdel Rahman hit upon the importance of having an in to get to the interview stage. So in his case, he said you helped him out with his current co-op. So and both of you guys have mentioned sort of networking and knowing people is quite important. And so I'm just wondering, is that just sort of fluke? Is that just that in your experiences that has been important, or is that sort of a common theme that you also notice with
It's
your
the
peers
most
and friends?
important thing.
It was
Like you will get,
important.
Gets you the job that you want.
you will get
Not any job.
like there's a very high chance that you will get an interview.
So
Yeah.
my
I
follow-up
think.
question is that, so
Right,
in
Khalid?
business, at least with what I've experienced, is a lot of cold calls, getting to know new people, and just making more connections. So in engineering, or in your experiences, is it that you're actively making more connections, or is it that you're just leveraging your existing ones?
Okay, two things. Actually, three things. Okay, one, I don't think there is. Actually, I know there are, but like I really hate those like formal, oh, just come talk to people and have a cup of coffee sort of thing. I suck. I completely suck at those things. I'm not really like good with knowing new people. So I tend to just stick to those I know. And since I'm in Waterloo, I know a lot of kids who, you know, achieved what I wanted to achieve. So it's easy for me to, if I need the referral, to ask for a referral. The other thing is, you will get to know people as you put yourself out there in your own industry. So like, I don't know what the equivalent of that is in chemical engineering, but like a hackathon, you'll
Yeah.
meet other kids who, are good at what they do, and they have the same passions, and you can help each other, resume critiques and so on. That's how I met one of my friends, actually. And
Congrats on your friendship.
thank you. Yeah, so like you'll meet people like that as you start meeting people with the same mindset, the same passions. And then the other thing is just go to social events, like MSA events and stuff, and you'll meet people there naturally. Like I never went with the intention of getting to know software developers, but you just meet software developers, and that's where it is. The thing is though, a referral is important. They're important once you're there, bro. Once you're good enough
Yeah.
to get
Wait.
that company. Like, dude, a referral isn't good for your first co-op, because your first co-op always going to be like as a first year. When you're older, all that changes, because these guys are hiring for kids who they want to come back for full time, because they're going to stay with them for 16 or 12 months. So it's a completely different process. But your first and second year, those first co-ops, they're going to be small co-ops, right? And they don't really have like a referral process. They're just going to interview everybody, and they're going to pay you your $14 an hour, and you're going to go on your way. So it doesn't matter. Just get your experience, get your validation, and then once you start getting like to big co-ops, companies that like have a lot of people applying, that's where you need an edge, and that edge is a referral. Someone that goes like, "Yo, this kid, trust me, take a look at him," and you'll get that look. So that's how it is in my experience. I got referred to one co-op, and that's the one I'm at now, and it paid off. They were like super internal, super low key team. The job wasn't even on the website, but it was exactly what I wanted, so that's where it helped. I had the validation, I had the the skill set to pass the interview process. So that's why they even considered me, Yeah, I hope I answered the question.
I was just curious.
I think it's
Yeah, go for it.
sorry. I think it's like really dependent on the industry. I would say chemical industries are a little more what's the word? Traditional in the sense of like a lot of networking events are like, for software developers, and like what Khalid was saying. But typically for us, we go more like the traditional route, like you just apply or whatever. But if you do see a company that you really, really like, definitely go on their LinkedIn, reach out to hiring managers. A lot of the times schools will have like consulting nights. At least like we have like consulting night where a bunch of consulting companies would come, and if you're interested in consulting, you go and talk to them, and they do hire people that they talk to and they like, because hiring managers are there and engineers that you would be working with are there. So yeah, for sure, like put yourself out there, but I guess you don't have to put yourself out there as much if you're in chemical, mechanical engineering, or like civil engineering, I would say.
And the thing you mentioned, sorry. The thing you mentioned also earlier, go to the career fairs. Go to the career fairs.
Career fairs are super important. Yeah. Hand out resumes like crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna ask, did you know anyone at Bruce Power?
No, actually, I didn't get referred to the job. I applied normally. The thing is, I live in Kincardine, so my dad works at Bruce Power, but he works in IT, so it's completely different than engineering. I just want to put it out there. It wasn't like a whole like
Conflict of
referral thing. My
interest.
dad works at Bruce Power. Not at all. If anything, I asked him, and he was like, "Nah, I don't know these people. You're on your own." So definitely, he doesn't work in engineering. So, yeah, that's I guess I would, if I was to start going back to work and they would open the site back for people, I'd be carpooling with my dad. So it's really exciting.
Goals.
Yeah, but no, I didn't get it through referral. It was just normal applying. But I know a lot of people who literally just who got jobs through referrals, or they just hit up like hiring managers like, hey, I really like what you're doing. I know someone who literally just went to consulting. I think I had a consulting night, and he went and he was like, I really like this company. They're a small company, and he was like, I really want to work with you guys. And he kind of just kept emailing them, and they're like, you know what, come work with us. And they weren't even offering internships. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add? Anything to add?
I think like one thing that I see a lot of people doing, and I think that can confirm, is that I'm talking about like software. Like they always ask like, oh, how do I get started? How do I like what should I do? Like web development, mobile, Android, iOS. And I think like one thing that's I think everyone falls into at some point in the beginning is like you just do like general stuff, and you don't really have like a niche kind of, or you don't know one thing like you can just build something, you know. You can't, like a lot of people I see like, oh, I know web dev, I know Python, I know Java, but when you ask them, oh, can you build this website for me, can you build this website with me, they can't really do it because they just know like very general stuff. So I think one thing I would say is just like focus on one thing and like go through it until like you get a co-op or something. And if you like the co-op, then change it. If you if you like the co-op, stay on it. If you don't like it, then like pick something else. But one thing, just to focus on one thing until at least you get a co-op.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
stand out. Yeah, I like that.
If you guys have any like last minute thoughts, parting advice, or just anything else you guys want to share, by all means, go for it.
Get your resumes critiqued, man. Your first resume, you'll be surprised how terrible it is. Get it critiqued. Reach out to someone, please.
Go to your career advisor. They'll shred it into little pieces. They'll be like, this is garbage. Throw it away. Make a new one. But it's worth it. Yeah.
Bro, I had a question actually. So I had a friend, I'm in a business program, so our resumes are obviously different and you structure in a way that's just different than engineering. Why do you guys bold certain keywords? Like, I don't understand. And
that's
why?
The key.
No, okay. And also, you guys have like short bullet points that describes like different details. So instead of having like 2 bulky paragraphs describing what you did at the thing, you'd have like 6 or 7 like mini bullet points that are just like one-liners each. And I was so confused. I was like, what is this? But I guess that's just industry difference, right?
Because who's trying to read those bulky paragraphs? I don't know.
Like at the end of the day, if you have if both of the resumes are 1 page, then ultimately like the content wouldn't really be not the content, the amount you have to read wouldn't really be that different.
For us, we can get 2 pages max. So I guess you can. At least like that's what I do. Mine is 2 pages, but we're allowed 2 pages. So I guess
mine is a page. I know it's a page.
Yeah, I thought it was like
no, it's
1 page.
We are like flexible between 1 or 2 pages. So, but I guess for everyone else, it's 1 page.
Look, the thing is, sorry to cut you off, Abdel Rahman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Apologies. The thing is, it's not about like paragraphs or not. It's just about you want to make the content easier for them to. Like you're writing super technical stuff on your resume. HR isn't technical, right? They're gonna read this stuff. It's gonna go way over their head. So you just want to bold like the numbers or like the main point that's easy for anybody to understand, and just keep it nice bullet points so they can say, oh, achieve this, doing this, did this, by that. Okay, it's good enough. This is what we want. instead of them having to read it and decipher what this is and what it does and its significance and so on. That's all it is. It just facilitates.
Mm-hmm.
And the bolding technique I got from someone at IBM, and I think it's just so much better because like a recruiter goes through like thousands maybe of resumes, and not even not even a recruiter, like what's it called, like the person hiring, like when like at the second level, if a software engineer is like looking at it or something and they just want to skim it, they're not going to read your bullet points. So they okay, this language, that framework, whatever, and yeah, it's like it's very quick. Instead of having them like, if they like what they see, then they start reading through it.
Yeah.
Oh, they interview you to know,
yeah. More often than not, an engineer will interview you, so you'll be able to talk about your personal projects and stuff in depth and like use more technical like terminology and whatever. So you don't have to like include that on your resume.
So apart from that sort of professional polishing up before you get into it, do you think there's anything else that you guys want to share?
Oh.
What?
I thought you were talking about the resume specifically.
No.
Good on my end.
We've covered the basics.
If anybody needs help with resume critiques, feel free to reach out to me. I am free for this one.
Man, you need to help me, man. Like at least critique one resume.
Your resume is
one
literally my resume, bro. You literally copied my resume.
I copied the style, not the words.
Yes.
The last thing I would want to add is, and this goes for people who are like in electrical or like in mechanical or in chemical or civil, where you have less technical stuff in your courses, like in software, like learning languages or whatever. Maybe I might be mistaken, but I think it's super important to, maybe if you don't have time in first year, but in second year and beyond, involve yourself in projects and involve yourself in extracurriculars that are related to like engineering clubs. Like for example, I have a lot of friends in electrical, and they are in Sunstang. I'm sure you guys have Sunstang clubs.
What is that?
Sunstang. It's the electrical car.
Oh, the solar car.
The solar car. Sorry, yeah. The solar car. Yeah. And so the solar car project for them was a big reason why a bunch of them got hired like pretty quickly, because they didn't know, they're like in classes, they're like, oh yeah, we're learning about circuits, we're learning about all this stuff, right? But they really put that knowledge to the test, and they had to go out and learn so much on their own that already by the time when they're applying to jobs, they know so much stuff that they were supposed to learn on the job. So I would say, I know you're stressed and you feel like you don't have time, but the skill sets that you learn in these clubs and these personal projects are really, really valuable and will help you get a job.
That is so true to any field, to be honest. I feel like for the most part, what you actually use in your job isn't what you learned in school. So if you get some actual field experience, that's super valuable.
Well, I just want to thank all of you guys for taking the time out on a Saturday to be here. Really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys are staying safe and your families are doing well. So I guess just tune in for episode number 4, which is going to be more focused on business. And if you haven't already, you can go and watch the science one, which is going to be published very soon. So again, thank you guys for being here, and I hope you guys have a really good summer.